calling coming under to bail from the case and abandon their client. One lawyer we can say certainly who is not going to do that is Sidney Powell. She was last on with me as a tireless champion of her client, Michael Flynn. She's now a tireless champion of her new client, Donald J. Trump, in some of these post-election legal battles. And Sidney, you've become very concerned about this Canadian company, Dominion Voting Systems. As I said on this show last week, it's illegal for a Canadian to give a C note to a presidential candidate, but apparently it's not in the least bit illegal for a Canadian company to end up running American elections in 33 states. What's the problem for you with this Dominion Voting Systems?
Well, there are so many problems, Mark. It would be hard to articulate all of them. Their system was specifically created and designed by Venezuelan money and interests to rig elections for Hugo Chavez and then for Maduro. It was exported internationally, understand, to rig an election in Argentina. And it has been used to rig this election for to make it appear the votes were for Mr. Biden when Donald Trump won overwhelmingly. And I'm in the process of collecting evidence through a fire hose to the point it feels like a tsunami now,
right,
of honest, patriotic people, American citizens who are coming forward to tell us exactly what was going on. And I just got word today that 100 Dominion employees have even taken any affiliation with Dominion off their LinkedIn accounts. And Dominion's scrubbing names of people like crazy.
Right, right. And it started, it only came out because I think a county clerk happened to notice that 6,000 Trump votes had been transferred to Joe Biden, I believe, in Michigan. But presumably less alert.
It also came out because some of my experts, who I know very well, immediately identified the algorithm that was being run to change the vote.
Right.
So that any number of batches of votes were changed by the machine, which by its own manual, it tells people it can do that. It was changed to run 67% for Biden, and votes were injected in that number by the hundreds of thousands multiple times. The exact same number and ratio were injected like 3 times in Wisconsin and twice in Michigan, or vice versa, a couple of 20 minutes apart or something. It's absurd. And for people to say there's no evidence of fraud, or the people that want to cover up the fraud for whatever their personal interests are, we also have some evidence coming in that people who bought these Dominion systems for their states got special benefits on the side.
Right.
And I mean, the level and width of the corruption is what the American people have felt for a long time, but we're just now getting people to come forward because it's so bad, and they've realized that I'm here and I will fight for it until we get it out there.
I was very interested by this business of the algorithm, because I hadn't realized till then. I'd heard of this company, but that in Canada they're just tabulators. In other words, they just run optical scanners that scan paper ballots. So if you have an argument about the result, like they did, I think it was Nova Scotia, New Brunswick a couple of years back, they've actually got the hardcore paper ballots and they go back and count them manually. But in America, it's completely different machines they're running, which are actually voting machines and not just these optical scanners. Is there, when you've been going on about Gina Haspel at the CIA, I mean, the deep state security guys who've certified that this is the cleanest election ever run in America, are they the guys who...
Fired.
Yeah.
They need to be fired. I don't know whose payroll they're on, but they need to be fired yesterday. Democrats Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar were complaining about this several years ago. Carolyn Maloney wrote a letter to people about it years ago. They're even scrubbing the articles they cited from the internet. We've gone to check on several links, and they're gone. This is very widespread, and I have no doubt at this point it involves the tech companies at Silicon Valley who are also trying to suppress our free speech on all of these issues to cover their their own, you know what.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am livid about all of it. I am livid about the level of corruption. I am livid that the FBI and the CIA haven't done anything about the complaints they've received, which just makes me want to know even more who's been paid what and who is responsible for all of this and who's paid whom to get by their elections.
And as you say, the media and the CIA and everything say, give it up, there's nothing to see here. What do you think? I take it you agree that this case ultimately is going to wind up before those 9 guys on the Supreme Court. Do you think they're going to be as eager to just sweep it under the rug?
I don't think so, Mark. I think the evidence is going to be so overwhelming, and I would warn any state right now that thinks they're going to certify this election to rethink it very seriously, because what they're certifying is their own fraud and their own complicity in fraud. And I might even mount a class action suit later to sue them themselves for their participation in it. It's ridiculous. The legislatures in the states need to take control right now and reject the certifications of especially the swing states that were so heavily influenced by these hundreds of thousands of vote changes. And the Smart Tech manual tells you that they can do this. They can change any vote they want to change. They can reallocate your ID from one vote to another. They can take batches of votes and trash them if they were for Trump. They can add votes for Biden. They can be manipulated any way they want to be manipulated, and they had VPN connections and access. And I think Raheem Kassan actually tweeted a message yesterday, or a picture yesterday, of Glenn Simpson looking behind a string of Dominion voting machines.
Yeah, you said, if I understood you correctly, that they can actually program the percentages of as it were. They can actually override whatever votes are in the machine and adjust them up and down until they reach the. Why would that be a feature of a voting machine?
Because it was created to do that to begin with. That's how Hugo Chavez and Maduro have ensured they won every Venezuelan election.
So somehow a Canadian company wound up putting Venezuelan counting machines in 33 American states. That's the upshot of that, Sidney.
Yeah, it was all created in Venezuela and designed to do this very thing, and they've installed Venezuelan machines, and then the votes actually go to Barcelona, Spain, and Frankfurt, Germany, where they can be further manipulated before they're sent back to be reported on AP and the New York Times and all that. And it was caught this big this time was because Donald Trump's lead was so overwhelming, they didn't calculate the algorithm high enough, and they had to stop counting.
Just a minute there, Sidney. I had no idea about that. These votes are actually counted they travel halfway around the world to Barcelona before they're counted. I want to come back with you. Hang on, please, Sidney. I want to come back and talk about that some more because that's extremely important. Mark Steyn for us. More with Sidney Powell straight ahead.